Do I think that it's possible to recover on RawTill4? Why in the world would you try and force yourself to do that? What's the point in doing something that you don't have to do? What if you didn't have to go overt fats free? What if it wasn't necessary? You can still do it. You know, it's a free world. You can do whatever you like. What I don't like about RawTill4 is the rules around it. I did do the RawTill4 for a long time, and it did help me to actually recover from some hormonal problems. But because I'm such a perfectionist, for me it just fed the obsessions about being perfect about what I eat. And if you look at the rules on the RawTill4 website, that's where I have some issues, because that doesn't sound and I will make a video on if I'm still RawTill4, and spoiler, kinda, yes, kinda, but I'm not going to you'll see what I mean, and that doesn't contradict what I'm saying here. So I did do RawTill4 for a longer time, as you know from my older videos. But then in the end, I didn't really reach these health goals that I expected to reach. And I'm not saying that's because of RawTill4. I'm saying maybe the combination of my personality and how I dealt with it and how I lived it was not a healthy one on a physical and mental level. Life is not just about sleep, water, sugar, even though I do believe that these three are fundamental to your health on a daily basis. But it's also about all other areas of your life. Your food and what you eat should serve your life and not the other way around. Your life should not serve your food. I do think that it's kind of an optimal diet for a way of eating or a lifestyle. But in today's world, if you want to have some friendships and if you want to be mentally sane and not eating disordered and obsessed about food, then you should be able to also eat foods that are not included in the RawTill4 guidelines. They might go into an optimal, direction, but I don't agree that, the fat you eat is the fat you wear. And I also don't agree that it's optimal for serving many people's lifestyles. But many times it's the other way around, that these people start to serve that RawTill4 lifestyle, and that's kind of the wrong way to go about it. I think it should be the other way around. So do I think that recovery on RawTill4 is possible? Basically, if someone doesn't develop any eating disorder tendencies, then yes, I do think it can be done on RawTill4 for sure. I do think that there are metabolisms and people that are suited to that lifestyle and that get all the nutrients and also enough fats. I think that there are people that can do that. But I think the problem lies in the practice of doing it in the real world. So if you try to stick to these guidelines and rules, you're going to be kind of a prisoner of these guidelines. For example, you can say, okay, if I have the choice, like when I'm at home, if I prepare my own food, can I just, do RawTill4? You should find out yourself if that's getting you where you want to be, like physically and mentally. If you feel prisoner and unfree around food and it really just sparks up anxiety in you that you didn't have before, then you might want to question it. Because what if you leave the house? What if you are going out into the world? Is this going to work for you still? Is this getting you where you want to get to? Is RawTill4 getting me to where I want to be on on all levels in my life? Regarding the macro concerns in RawTill4, I just think there should not be that focus on macros at all. Like in nature, we would just be like, wow, that looks good, that sounds good, I really want to have that now, I'm gonna eat it. We wouldn't even know that macros exist. So that's where I think personalities like me, who are really in their head, they're just going to obsess about these macros. I think the less is better, even though that it might not even be the case for them. Like, the less fat the better is not the case for many people. Not saying that some people can thrive on very little fat, yeah, but just in general. So in nature, there would be no reason, like in general, there's no reason for us to count any kind of macros. We would not be overthinking all of this. And like the mindful eating, you know, intuitive eating nowadays is so much mindful eating, like thinking maybe I'm just thirsty, you know, it's a problem. I think RawTill4 oftentimes really is abused by people who do have these tendencies to do things too much to the T, which are going to develop obsessions or feed their obsessions with RawTill4. So for example, I really do think it's a good thing that I add some fats, because it's easier for me to eat enough that way, without digestive issues, without blood sugar issues. And it would be much more difficult, and I would be much less satiated if I were to eat carbohydrates only, which doesn't mean I don't eat watermelon meals anymore. Most of the basic stuff of RawTill4 is a good foundation for losing fear of eating enough calories in general. It's just that regimented mindset about everything. No one should get this wrong. I am a big fan of RawTill4. I think there's so much right about RawTill4, but just I have my issues about doing it in the real world of the individual. Like, not everyone is living in the tropics, and even I myself, for periods of time, I do live in the Philippines. You just wanted to serve your lifestyle and not base your lifestyle all around your way of eating. I do believe that fruit is very optimal for your digestion, and I eat a lot of fruit. I love fruit. But that doesn't mean that starches and, you know, other foods and also fats and legumes and fats in general, like all the other plant foods, are not good for you. Doesn't mean that at all, and that's all I want to say here. Like, I'm not really criticizing what RawTill4 is about. I'm kind of criticizing what RawTill4 is hating about, in a way. Yeah. So I think if you merge the two, if you combine the two and find a middle ground, that is great. And I really want to emphasize that I'm not saying it's just because I added fats that I magically recovered, because I know there are these voices on YouTube that also say that it's just because they added more fats that they recovered or healed any health issues. And that might be, but I think most of the time it's really just about getting enough calories and just about not having any fear of foods anymore. But in hormone, when you have issues with hormones, you do want to eat fats as well. It's not like, I'm not saying that without having added any fats I wouldn't have been able to recover, but in order to fully recover on all levels, I did have to do that, especially hormonally, and to get the period back. And it doesn't mean that, of course you can eat no overt fats at all, but maybe just be open to that thought that, but what if it wouldn't be necessary? What if you didn't have to go overt fats free? What if it wasn't necessary? You can still do it. It's a free world. You can do whatever you like. But especially in recovery, when there's so many foods that you have been restricting and depriving yourself of, what's the point in doing something that you don't have to do? Just a little thought. It's like your body needs an absolute value, like an absolute amount of fat. It's not only about the percentages. Your body daily needs some amount of fat, and you can't know exactly how much that is. The more active you are, the more energy you expend, the smaller the percentage of your total calories that you need from fat is going to be ultimately, because your body needs like a some kind of base of fats per day. All I'm saying is that you don't need huge amounts of fats. I'm not someone that says recovery, you know, you can't do recovery on being RawTill4 because you need all those healthy fats in high amounts. I hope you get that. But I think you do need some. There's no full recovery without adding in some fats back into your diet. I think, personally believe, especially because of hormones and for women. You do have to make up a lot of deficiencies, also hormonal deficiencies. It's like you do need more fats than you normally would, you usually would, if you never had such a big calorie deficit. And if you don't have to eat ultra extremely low fat and non-over fats, like over fats free, then why in the world would you try and force yourself to do that? So the reason I was talking about the more energy you expend, the smaller fat percentage you need, is because many people that are coming to the RawTill4 lifestyle, or that are practicing the RawTill4 lifestyle, they actually bring some obsessive tendencies with them, or even eating disorder, or generally disordered tendencies with them and practices. For example, so many over exercises. Like, I'm not the one to decide what is over exercise for certain individuals. Everyone has to decide that for themselves. But that lifestyle attracts a lot of people that have been in disordered habits or mindsets before, and it's very easy for people to actually implement that into the RawTill4 lifestyle and just carry on doing these things. So that is how RawTill4 people you know, expending so much energy, eating so much more than, you know, and also needing so much more than they would if they didn't do all of that. They do oftentimes need such little percentage of fat. But what if we have someone that doesn't do cycling all day? Like, I'm not saying, like, I know many RawTill4 people don't do cycling all day. Just say, like, just an example, you know? What if you are not an athlete? What if you're not a professional athlete, or even like a semi-professional athlete, or even someone who does like to do a lot of sports? What if you're someone that just lives their normal life? Then your percentage of fat needs to be higher than that which is promoted in RawTill4. Like, not exponentially higher, not like greatly higher, just a little bit higher. Maybe that's just the little difference in adding, you know, between RawTill4 and adding in a little bit of fats to your liking, to your taste buds, and also how you feel. Maybe that's just the little difference between the two. So what's the point in going for a way of eating such as RawTill4 and then still continuing and carrying on all these, you know, habits that might not benefit you, that might be disordered, that might even be part of an eating disorder or exercise addiction? So what's the point in saying RawTill4 works and you don't need much fat, but, you know, then at the same time all the while doing these things that are not healthy for you long term and that you actually want to break away from? You know what I'm saying? So that I'm saying that percentage, yes, it can work, but no, it doesn't work for many people that want to recover and not be obsessed with eating or exercising. Hope that makes sense. So find your balance. I also had to find my balance. I basically don't actually exercise. All I do is I love the nature. I just go outside every day for a walk. I just relax and I think and I do some breathing work. And I have lost any need of having to exercise. And while I was RawTill4, I did make a point in doing a lot of cycling and running. And I did so much that in the end I couldn't manage to eat enough for that amount of training, couldn't manage to sleep enough for that amount of training, and couldn't manage, to rest enough in general. And I just developed severe adrenal fatigue because of that. And I'm not saying it was RawTill4, I'm saying it was my fault because I did it in a way that didn't serve me. But I think that RawTill4 attracts a lot of people that do have these same tendencies. It's just, I'm really happy to be in a place where I'm free from having to exercise in order to feel good and be healthy and fit. And all of my, physique, body, mental, mindset, anxiety really just benefited from me finding that balance. Because I stopped exercising and broke away from like these guidelines and ate just like within the vegan and plant-based kingdom, I just ate without restriction and I ate all of it. Yeah, that just served me physically, mentally, all of that. And that's where I have my issues with full recovery on RawTill4. That's where I doubt that it can be done. Yes, physically it can be done, absolutely, but mentally, in a real world, with real relationships and real events and life happening, I wouldn't think so. And if you feel, ooh, girl, this is getting modelly. And if you feel like creating some captions or subtitles for this video, please feel free to do so. I'm going to enable this for my community here on YouTube, so you can just right away, because I'm not going to find the time to do that. Please leave me a like and a comment and share this one with whoever you think needs this, and I'll see you next video. Bye bye.